Thanks, Fiona. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the community meeting. As I say, it is recorded, and please just raise your hand if you want to come in with anything. I would just ask, because of the amount of people here, and we do have new people joining our community partnership, that if you're coming in, if you could just introduce yourself and what your role within the Sutherland Community Partnership is, just so that we're all aware of where you're coming from. First of all, I will just like to introduce the minutes from the last. Sorry, no, I won't. Fiona, do you have apologies before we move on to the next stage?
I do have apologies. If you just bear with me, I shall find them. Here they are. Angela Ikeverin, Fiona Hampton, Margaret Brown, Morven Taylor, Marion from North Coast Connections, Aileen Ogilvie, Jane Young from Connect Ascent, Peter Vishenda, and Joan Lakai. I have so far.
Okay, thank you very much, Fiona. I'll now go into you. The minutes of the last meeting were obviously sent out to everybody with this invite. Has everybody managed to have a look at them? And is there any comments anybody would like to make in respect of the minutes? Jim, if you want to come in, please.
Yeah, I'd just like to congratulate the writer on a very full set of minutes, and I think it's a very high standard set, and I hope this continues. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Well done. That who was the person who recorded the minutes?
That's Emma from Police Scotland, who does the minutes for the full meeting. Is
Emma in just now?
She is not. She's asked to send the recording afterwards because she couldn't make today. So I'll pass that along.
Aye, okay. Thanks for that, Jim. Okay, so if we could adopt those minutes, and that'll be moving on then. Actions from the previous meetings, they've been circulated with those minutes, and we'll come to any actions in due course. But moving on now to the introductions. So we have Vicky Clark, NHS. Vicky, are you here? I'm trying to look through.
Yes,
all the
yes,
list.
I'm here. Hello.
Vicky, good morning. If I can bring you into the meeting, please.
Great. Thank you very much, everybody, for allowing me to come along. You're mostly all new faces to me, so I'll be a new face to you, although I have had the pleasure of meeting Jim McGilvery. He came along to our meeting recently, and I know some of my friends from the whole family wellbeing programme are here. So yes, so my name is Vicky Clark. I'm a health improvement specialist with NHS Highland. I work for the Public Health Directorate, and we are working on the Planet Youth Programme, which is otherwise known as the Icelandic prevention model. I don't know how many of you have heard of this particular model. Some of you might have heard of it, some of you it'll be brand new to you. But this was a programme that was launched in Iceland back in about 20 years ago, when they were having a lot of problems with their youths, drinking, taking drugs, taking part in a lot of risk-taking behaviours. It was having a really negative effect on the children's physical and mental health, and also the communities as a whole. So the Icelandic people got together. They realised the traditional health promotion of, just say no, etc., really wasn't working. So they looked to try and bring in. By the way, how long am I meant to speak for here? Am I just literally saying hello and stopping, or am I meant to explain what I'm doing?
Vicky, you're doing fine. You crack on.
But I sometimes don't stop. Just give me a wee nudge if I'm rabbiting on too long. So basically, they looked at different ways that they could try and prevent children from starting to use these substances in the first place. So the programme is really about primary prevention, and it doesn't view the children as the issue, it views society as the issue. So we know that children are affected by their family and how much time they spend with their family and how much interest their family takes in them, and whether they're putting if they have rules and boundaries that they expect their young people to follow. The peers that the children are hanging out with, if their peers are using substances, they're more likely to do it themselves. We know that. It involves their community. Does their community have a lot of activities that they're actually interested in? Is there plenty of things for them to do, or are they bored? Is that part of the reason why they're trying these substances? And also their school environment. Do they view their school environment as a safe, stimulating, encouraging place? So what am I doing? Why am I here today? At the moment, Planet Youth is being piloted. It's being piloted at 5 schools, and 2 of those schools are in Sutherland. So Dornoch and Golspie are the 2 schools in Sutherland that it's being piloted at. So we are trying to build up community coalition groups in these areas. And we had the first meetings the last week in Dornoch and Golspie. And unfortunately, despite putting out a lot of adverts and whatnot, we got very poor attendance on both evenings. Jim came along to the meeting in Dornoch, and that was fantastic. And thank you, Jim. We had a great conversation with you. And then in Golspie, again, we just had two of the local parents. So we're really looking at trying to get a wide range of people coming to these meetings. We need to have sort of people who are involved with the schools, and we know that school staff are at capacity. Believe me, my husband's a teacher, I know that. We want to get school staff, local counsellors, parents, mental health professionals, members of the emergency services. We're wanting you all to come together and help us to change the environment to try and prevent children from starting to use substances. We get our data from the 4th year pupils. They fill in an enormous survey that tells us how many of them are using all these different substances, what age they started using, how many of them have been bullied, how many of them have had sexual activity, etc. It's a huge survey, fully anonymised. And the 4th year pupils have just done that about 6 weeks ago. The data gets sent to Iceland, and then it comes back to ourselves to look at. And then we bring that data out and present it to the schools and the local communities. So we need to have people there to help us look at this data, see what the issues are in each of these areas, and to start making action plans that we can build on. Does that make sense?
Makes perfect sense, Vicky.
Great.
Thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
And that very much leads us in to the next introduction, and it may well be of interest to yourself. And I don't know how much conversation you've already been having with the whole family wellbeing team.
Yeah, quite a bit. They've been along to a couple of they came to our meeting in Tain the other night, and we've realised that we will have to go to each other's meetings because we're basically doing very similar work.
No, that's super. Jim, if I can bring you in.
Yeah, thanks, Stuart. Just to say, it was a very, very useful meeting. Although I felt very privileged just having so much attention given to me at one time in one place. It's not usual at a council meeting, I can tell you. But yeah, I've taken very much to heart all the things that were said, and I think we've pointed your group towards contacts to make in Dornoch to actually extend the circle of interest. And I've actually started my own community here in Embo to actually try and implement some of the ideas. And hopefully over the winter months, through till the end of March, we'll have a bit of activity going on for example, a youth club that hasn't run in 10 or 15 years and gets things like that running. And just on the subject of PVGs and youth clubs and things like that, it's a particularly, if I just put on record, I find it's a particularly horrendous set of obstacles to actually get through the whole marsh of documentation to actually submit and sign up to. And I just wish there was a much easier system to actually encourage people in rather than have to fight their way through the whole jungle of documentation to actually get to the end result. But that's life, just to keep fighting. But thanks, I really enjoyed the meeting, and just I think really are onto a good thing. The Icelandic model is known to me from past years, and I think that Iceland, I think they actually poured money into it. That's not going to happen here, so we'll just have to find another way of doing it. But enjoy the meeting, Vicky, and let's just work together. Cheers.
Thanks, Jim. It was great to meet you.
Thanks, Jim. Marianne, if you could come in now, please.
Thanks very much. Thanks, Vicky. That was really interesting. I have read a wee bit about the Icelandic model, so it's great to hear it's coming to Sutherland. I was just wondering if you have any plans for any pilots in Ward 1 of Sutherland on the west or north or central.
Well, at the moment, like I say, that the pilot's just rolled out across 5 schools, and that was launched 2 years ago. And if we can prove that we're having an impact and that we are reducing the numbers, then there is a lot of interest in Scottish Government, and our hopeful plan would be to roll it out across Highland, because we know that there's a real issue across the whole of Highland, not just with substance use, but with children's mental health. We know is at an all-time low. There is a real addiction to phones. All of these things really play into how children's physical and mental health is at the moment. So yes, our plan is to roll it out wider, but for just now, I couldn't give you a time span of how that'll be. It'll just be in regards to ongoing funding and how that proceeds.
Thanks very much.
Thanks, Marianne, and thanks very much for that, Vicky. That was very informative. And as I said, it leads us nicely onto a welcoming Hayley Cameron and Kai McKeever from the Whole Family Wellbeing team. I don't know who's going to come in first, Kai or Hayley, but feel free just to come in and introduce yourself and what your organisation is looking to accomplish.
Good morning. Good morning. Well, Hayley, you want to start? I too, Vicky, can talk. I was at Vicky's meeting the other night in Tea, and actually, it was again. It was fantastic. Echo what Councillor McGilvray says. It was really good. So I look forward to working very closely with Vicky and all of you as well. So I'll let start. So I'm Kai, and I'll let Hayley start.
Yeah, absolutely. Hi everybody, and my name's Hayley Cameron. I'm one of the locality coordinators, part of the Whole Family Wellbeing Programme, and I've been partnered up with Kai. So we're covering 3 localities across Highland, Sutherland being one of them. And it's just to give you a wee bit of a background. I know that our manager, Jennifer Bond, has sent out lots of information and attended lots of different meetings. So she's maybe linked in with folk over the last wee while. So in Highland, Jennifer came into post as programme manager in May of this year, and the rest of the team was recruited around about August and September. So the first step that we thought we would have to take is to form a participation strategy to work out what is actually going on in localities in terms of whole family support. So that's what we've been doing over the last wee while. So we've been linking in with localities. We've been going into locality, and we've created quite a lot of links actually in Sutherland. We were up at the Kyla Sutherland Development Trust. We've visited Galsby. We've been to Tykes where we had our session yesterday. So there's lots of things going on. Lots of participation taking place, and we've actually had over 500 practitioners sign up across the whole of Highland to kind of share their views as to what's going on and where the gaps are and what we can do to try and help fill those gaps, and that'll be obviously the next part of our programme. So yeah, it's been great so far, linking in with communities and trying to get that better understanding of the landscape and the lie of the landscape. We also plan to have a participation event in Kinloch Berby, but unfortunately we didn't have the buy-in, and the way that the sessions delivered, we did only have a couple of folks sign up, and we just can't deliver the session like that. So we're hoping to revisit that in the new year, and we hope we'll get a few more people signing up for that event so that we can really tap into what's happening on the west of Sutherland, because we are conscious that there's a lot of activity on the east side, and we don't want to forget about our communities on the west, so that's really important to us. I know that the route map, which is a document from the Scottish Government, has been shared widely with you all, but I can, if anybody wants further information on the actual programme, I can easily share that, because that's a really concise document that talks about the 4 pillars that are really the cornerstones of how our programme is going to be developed. But yeah, it's been fab so far. I'll pass back to Kai, because she is going to talk a little bit more about our participation sessions and the next steps and where we're going to go from here.
Yeah, so, well, it's been really good, actually. It's been a great opportunity to be meeting people in their own spaces, really. We have been working across all the localities, as Hayley said, and meeting groups, hearing people's views and their really valuable input. And as I say, we were in Galsby yesterday. We did have an online session which was scheduled face-to-face in Hallkirk, which I know isn't Sutherland, but we had some practitioners that work in Sutherland had attended that. So we had to revert that to online, though, just due to the weather, unfortunately. Obviously, all of our sessions could have been held online, but actually we really, understand and value the face-to-face approach. I think you can't beat getting into a room with people and sort of chewing the fat and getting really the conversation, the quality of the conversations has been really, really good. The feedback has been great. There's sort of identified, across, all our conversations we've been having with practitioners is the want for stronger partnership working across their landscape, and to reduce the silo working with services, and just to improve the general way of working and communication. There seems to, we've kind of come out of COVID, and there's a few barriers still. COVID is going to be with us for a long time, even though we've left that one. And really, just again, we're going to look to reschedule the Kinloch-Bervie session in the new year. So your help would be really, or it doesn't have to be Kinloch-Bervie. If you could identify an area, know your local knowledge is really important. So that's where we need your help, because obviously we're coming into your area. So I'm based in East Ross, so I'm not far away, but obviously it's a landscape that we need your guidance on. So if you could suggest or help us with improving that engagement, we would be really, really, really delighted. And really, going into the new year, we're going to be speaking with families and children, and we've got a couple of, I think 4 more sessions planned online for the January, just to kind of capture people that haven't been able to attend any of the meetings, the sessions that we've had, because obviously this time of year is really busy for people anyway. So, but we were time limited because we did come into post at the end of August. So we're just trying to make the best of the time and speak to as many people, and just kind of bridging the gaps, because our programme is needs led. So all that information is really valuable, and with speaking to the families and children in the new year, and then we can come back into the locality then, and with your assistance, identify the gaps, and with the funding, hopefully get that out. Obviously that's we're getting closer. We're getting closer. So I think I've covered everything. Hayley, have I missed anything out?
I don't think so. Just to say that if anyone does have any questions or wants to know a little bit more, they can link in with us, either
Absolutely.
directly or through our whole family wellbeing mailbox. We've also got newsletters that you can sign up to, so that we can keep you fully informed. And we've got a distribution list running for that. So yeah, just open to engagement, really.
Yeah, I'll put the newsletter in the chat if that's okay, and we can put our email in the chat as well. So, and just have that for your information. And please do contact us, because we need everyone behind us if possible.
Yeah.
So thank you. Yeah.
Absolutely. Kai, just before open to questions, Kai and Hayley, thank you very much for that. I did attend a presentation by Jennifer Bond a couple of weeks ago in the Mayor Country Community Centre, and it's really, really good stuff that's coming out, and good support that's coming out. And more importantly, in this financial environment, the fact that you're coming with funding as well is very much welcome.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thanks for having us along, but thank you.
No bother at all. Sarah, do you want to come in just now?
I'm Sarah from Kinloch-Bervie, and Kai and Hayley. I'd love to follow up to get a session organised in January as soon as we can. So I'll get to you afterwards. Because we're absolutely talking about family services, intergenerational learning, all of that kind of stuff. So it'd be great to connect with you.
Fabulous, thank you.
Thanks, Sarah. Yvonne, if you want to come in just now, thanks.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I've seen Sarah there, about Kinloch-Bervie as well, that I can help support for there. And also, have you got any plan for Lochinver?
We will be guided by, we want to go everywhere, but obviously, we do realise, as I say, the importance of going to people's areas, and the value of not doing it on Teams is great. Not that I'm knocking Teams, Teams has its place, but I think, for that conversations. So Yvonne, it'd be great to speak with you as well, actually.
Yeah, I definitely think both the best sides, so Kinloch-Bervie and Lochinver, in that area is quite crucial. Yes, and I'm happy to help support.
Excellent, Yvonne. Nice to see you. Thanks.
Thanks for that. Yvonne, I saw your hand going up and back down again. Are you wanting to come in just now before I move on?
It was just to say that for about Kinlochbervie and Lochinver.
Oh, no, that's perfect. Christine.
Hi, I'm Scurry Development Officer. I just wanted to ask as well, although it's geared towards families, does that preclude one-to-one sessions?
You want to come in there, Healy?
Yeah, no, I was just going to say the support that the way that our programme is developing is we're not a project, so we're not going out into communities and delivering anything ourselves. It's more about bringing third sector organisations, statutory organisations together, you know, forming alliances and funding, you know, gaps in provision that way. I don't know if that clarifies things for you, Christine.
I just wondered though, but if that gap's identified more towards one-to-one type assistance, how would that fit in, or that would it fit in?
Yeah, it's more, the approach that we're taking is more a whole family kind of holistic approach.
Yeah,
but if there was, if there was, you know, gaps in a service in one particular locality that you think needs addressing, we would certainly be open to have those conversations and to bring the organisations in that area together to talk about what we could do. Absolutely.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks, Christine, and thanks, Hayley. Jim, do you want to come in now?
That's just a quick question. How long's the programme been running, and what's the kind of expected duration at the moment? I'm just trying to kind of patch it into my life where I fit in. Thanks.
It's a 23-month programme, and it's been running since the summer, really. We have had conversations with Scottish Government, or our leaders have, and we are hoping that the programme may continue, but obviously it's all dependent on what's agreed at Scottish Government level. We know that the changes that we want to make are quite transformational in terms of, you know, trying to get things set up and the sustainability of that moving forward. So we are hopeful that there will be further funding, but at the moment it is a 23-month programme.
That's ideal. Hayley, Kai, thank you very much for coming along today and giving your input. It really is quite exciting, and you know, most importantly, when finances are tight everywhere, you are coming to the party with a bank account, which is really valuable just now. So thank you very much. Just move now on to the next point in the agenda, which is the full subgroup updates. So I would invite Councillor Richard Gale to come in for the transport update, please.
That's great. Thanks, Stuart. Well, the situation at the moment is that Urban Foresight are working for us at the moment to build an integrated transport plan for the county. And they're also completing an application for us for the SSE Sustainable Development Fund, which has got to be submitted by the middle of January. Then that's for the purchase of electric vehicles. We also have an application in place at the moment, which is going through the CRS Community Regeneration Fund it's been administered by the council, and that's in at the moment, and that hopefully we'll get the result of that in March. What we're doing as well is we're trying to establish a company limited by guarantee, because as the partnership we can't deliver services and our own assets. That's we're restricted from that perspective, from the planning partnership perspective. So we're putting together a company limited by guarantee and also a charity. The name of the company at the moment is, as far as we're aware, is going to be the Southern Regeneration Initiative. So it's not going to be confined purely to transport, but transport is a catalyst to get it up and running. First of all, we know that transport across the county is one of the biggest issues. So if all the funding comes together, then we're hoping to launch our transport plan by the beginning of April or thereabouts. And at the moment, the plan is to have 5 electric vehicles, 9-seaters, based at various locations across the county. So we're looking at more to maybe Scowry, Betty Hill, Lairg, Brora, and possibly Bonar Bridge as well. But again, that hasn't been fixed in stone yet, and we'll be meeting in the new year to look at where the best places are for these vehicles. There will again, if it all comes to fruition, then there will be a transport manager put in place to organise this, and then we'll be engaging with volunteers, and hopefully long term we'll have some paid drivers to do the runs for us. Now the idea initially is to get people to health appointments, which is a big issue across the county, and also to work with the schools to make sure the kids can get back and forth to after school activities. That's a big issue on the north and west in particular, where transport is a real issue. So we're working on that to see what's needed in that area. So that's where we are at the moment. It's all work in progress, really. We've come down the road quite a long way, in that we've got Urban Foresight working for us, which is fantastic. They've already done some work with Focus North, and Focus North has been really good because they've allowed us to partner them in their project, which is basically looking at the north coast. But they allowed it to expand into the whole county. So there's a lot of work going on in that respect. Scott and Fiona have also been great. They've been helping us with all this, and hopefully within the next week or so we're going to get some letters out to the community councils, etc., so we can try and get some support from them. Any letters of support will be fantastic, and I'll make sure the letters are available to everybody on this meeting as well, so that if you're so minded, then it'd be great to get a letter of support into Urban Foresight via ourselves, so that we can actually get this to the funders to show that there's a real need for this project. Going forward, we're looking at if it all works out, then we'll look at expanding the service and eventually having a scheduled service around the county, which will but that's kind of the next phase, as it were. So if we get these cars in place initially, then I think that's a good step forward. But it's going along. I see, if it all comes to fruition, then we will start delivering a service by the beginning of the next financial year. And that's where we are at the moment. Thank you.
Richard, thank you very much, and I just want to recognise the amount of work that you put in, and the amount of work that partners have come in and assisted with. So I would just encourage anybody, just to put that letter of support to Richard, because it really is vitally important to get initiatives over the line, that we get support from the whole area. So if you could put a bit of time aside just to submit that letter to Richard, it would be very much appreciated.
That's fine, thanks, Stuart. I'll just say that what I'll send out to you is a template. It's just a case of populate with your own details, and add any comments that you have, and then you can submit them back into any one of the councillors, because initially the company limited by guarantee, all of the southern councillors will be the directors to establish the company. But once it's up and running, then we're all going to withdraw, because we want this to be a community-led project. So we're looking for representatives from North and West, Central and East Coast of Sutherland to participate, so that it's truly a community and county-wide initiative, and obviously it linking in directly into the partnership.
No, that's ideal. Thank you very much. And I would just say to Fiona and Scott, if possible, can we get that emailed out to all our participants, and then it's there so that we can complete that and just send it back to Richard if we have a mind to do that. But Fiona, can I ask you to come in, please?
Morning. Just on that, Gail, Richard, I'm just wondering if we could help with them, from the employability side of things. So you say that you might be looking for drivers and things, in the future, volunteers and things. We have a third sector pay placements where we can provide funding to pay salary for a client that's maybe not managed to get back into work, that's nearly work ready, where we could pay for their salary for 6 months, to be able to do a driver's job for that kind of purpose. So we can certainly speak to you about that outside this,
Fiona, that would be absolutely fantastic. I'll get in touch with you offline, and we can have a chat about that. That would be really good.
I think we've got a meeting this afternoon anyway, so I'll maybe
Yeah.
speak to you a bit more about that.
It's
Okay.
two o'clock, isn't it?
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, that's fine. We'll have a chat then. Thank you for that.
Thanks, Fiona. And just so the partnership is aware, Fiona has very recently agreed, very kindly agreed to head up the employability subgroup. So Fiona, thank you very much for doing that for us. It's most welcome. Thanks. And once again, thanks again, Richard, for that input. And that'll bring us on to Councillor Jim McGilvray, who's going to give us an update on both the fuel poverty and the food poverty subgroups.
Well, thanks, Chair. As per fuel, I've already circulated a report. Just to summarise quickly, we've had a final meeting of the Rural Energy Consumers Working Group with Minister Gillian Martin. She's taken on board, at David and Di's insistence, the concept of a social tariff, and is pursuing that with the UK government. I've asked for an update from her civil servants, but nothing has come back as yet. And I still keep flagging my own particular complementary strategy, which is to grow the rural economy if we possibly can. I'm delighted to see that North Planning Applications Committee saw fit to consent to the 50 million project on Cool Links, and I greatly fear what Holyrood will do to this thereafter. But never mind. There's jobs and housing is one of the answers I have, as well as social tariff, and let's just see what they take on board as regards jobs and housing. Again, looking into the winter, things are not particularly good. We've identified all the funding we can locally and distributed. That's in the process of distribution from our discretionary funds. And the only other bit of incident of note is a meeting with Louis Yanes, Policy Officer of the Scottish Human Rights Commission, sent north from the Scottish Government to see what's happening in the sticks. And it's a very, very beneficial meeting and excellent cross-representation from both sides. And it's something that we will be picking up in a further meeting in the new year. And happy to pick up any questions if anyone wants any further additions to what I've said. If not, looking at the food group, much the same story. We are, I think we've got challenges emerging. There's some little bright spots like the Argyle Game Holidays packets, which are still going out and still available. Unfortunately, the application for Cash First wasn't successful, but I only hope something might come of the work that was done in preparing that. And we still have our physical support coming from likes of CFINE, monetary fund coming from Westminster Fund that's still operating, though under 25s are the preferred support area, and local food stores and donations. And again, we're just coming to the end of our local money in terms of board discretionary funding to support communities throughout the winter. And as a final point, if I may, Chair, I'd like to put on record my deep sorrow at the recent sad and unexpected passing of Isabel Murray, who has been a stalwart of the partnership. I've known Isabel in her different roles over many years and admired her dedication and diligence in helping her home village and the wider county of Sutherland in any way she could. Her passionate involvement will be greatly missed, and her passing leaves a great void in the lives of many. And I'm quite sure the Sutherland Community Partnership conveys its heartfelt condolences to her close and extended family at this very sad time. So thank you, Chair, for allowing me these comments.
Jim, thank you very much, and very well said there at the end. Thank you very much for those comments. I'll bring David in just now. David.
Yeah, first of all, just to echo Jim's comments on Isabel. I think it was a shock to everybody. Just to reinforce what Jim was talking about, I think there seems to be a kind of opinion stemming from journalists and politicians that this winter isn't as bad as last winter, and therefore there's a lot of support being stopped for energy and stuff like that because inflation has kind of plateaued. But it's kind of settled at a price range far higher than it used to be. And there is a severe amount of debt that's been built up during the tackling people's energy bills. So as an example of that, as Jim has said, we distribute support for under 25s with food vouchers prior to Christmas. We did it last year and we did it again this year, and we had £18,000 worth of support at £100 a child. Last year, it took us about 7 or 8 days to allocate the £18,000. This year, it was just over a day. And we have a waiting list that's almost as big as we had before. So the demand, the issues as far as, and I can see that Phil Carr from the CAB is on here as well. He'll be very, very aware of this. The demand of debt and expenses is far worse than it was last year, even though the inflationary pressures on people aren't the same. And I think we have to be really aware of that. We also faced the issue last year where there was central government support for energy over the winter, and it actually turned out to be quite a mild winter. Now, we don't have that support. If we do get a harsh winter, I think things could be really, really challenging in springtime when well, not springtime, but the early new year when we tend to get our coldest weather anyway. So I think we just have to be really diligent. I don't have any answers for this. I just think that we need to be aware that just because there seems to be on the face of it a less worse situation, I think in many people's real lives, it's much worse than it was last year.
Yeah, here. Well said, David. Thanks very much. I think that's less worse doesn't mean it's good, doesn't mean it's better. It's just many people will be worse off this year than they were last year, just with the financial situation that we find ourselves in. But no, recognised and well said. Sarah, can I ask you to come in just now?
Yep, I just wanted to add to Jim's mention of the Human Rights Commission. After lobbying by Ewan McLachlan of Ascent Development Trust, the Commission came to both Kinlochbovey and Lochimber, and I met with them with colleagues at the Citizens Advice Bureau there, and as I'm sure I think probably everybody that met them probably was saying exactly the same things about fuel, food poverty, transport issues. But I think the other key issue that is being felt in Kinlochbovey, as is in many places, is the significant issue around childcare, whether that be preschool care, which we have nothing at the moment, or after school care. So I think they were very interested to hear about all of that, and I'm hopeful that they're going to come back sooner rather than later and keep in dialogue. But yeah, it was great to talk to them.
Thanks, Sarah. Alex.
Hi, so just from Sarah's point about childcare in Kilbervie, Debbie's a registered childminder, and she's offered to, with talks with HIE, to offer childminding. Now that's been rejected by Kilbervie community. Debbie's actually upstairs in a meeting now with HIE to follow on from that, and I think Councillor Marie, or Anne Marie, whatever, she would be more aware of the situation because they want the nursery open. But I think they're looking at having to raise 60,000 and one child, and the nursery can only offer childcare for preschool and not after school or before school or older children. So I think the community maybe needs to question. They have to do a business plan. So I think it's pretty dire of them to reject something that's been offered to them. But that's my personal opinion. And I grew up in Kilbervie, and I'm investing £500,000 in the village. So, and I've got kids that go to Golspie High School as well. And I know teachers are leaving the school, being suspended, and then quitting because of the behaviour of the children. So that there's definitely issues there. And Debbie wasn't aware of any meeting at Golspie High School about asking the parents to attend or anything. So she did ask. I mentioned it when she came in just now, and she wanted to know where that was. If she's got children at the school, I'm surprised that she didn't know there was a meeting and asking parents to attend. So, because we've got children that go to the schools in Sutherland, so you guys all know about it. But I would have thought Debbie, as a parent at the school, should have known about it. So I would like to know where that information was shared.
I don't know if anybody can come in with that answer. Marianne? Oh, you're still on silent, Marianne, sorry.
Sorry about that. Had to happen at some point today. I think that's two quite distinct areas, the high school and the early learning and childcare on the northwest. All I can say about the high school is that your first port of call is the school, to contact the school and ask there, or one of the counsellors from the Golspie area. As regards the childcare, it's something that's been worked on not just in Kinlochbervie but all along the northwest, and it's going to be a long haul. But the community has been very much involved with Highland Council, HIE, SCMA, CALA, all trying to figure a flexible childcare model that will work for that area, because as we know, all over Highland, there is no one model that works everywhere. And I would like to think that different kinds of childcare could all work together. In an ideal situation, you'd have childminders, you'd have an early learning setting, but we don't always have the opportunity to have that ideal. At the moment, all these different organisations are working together and doing as much as they can to come up with something that will meet everybody in the community. And I'm sure you can appreciate that we do have to take all views into account. I'd be very happy to speak with you about that, Mr. Monroe, offline, or if you can get in touch after. I don't really know that we want to go into individual people. I'm not comfortable really discussing one person's part in each of these things in this forum, but I'm more than happy to discuss that offline.
Marianne, thanks very much. And yeah, I agree that there's discussions that really need to take place off table when it comes to specific problems. But Alex, I would say that the issue of childcare is an issue throughout Sutherland. And it ties into a number of factors, whether it's poverty or employability, or that there's various other sort of subgroups that the lack of childcare does tie into, which has been addressed from multiple directions. But as Marianne says, it might be best to take that off, your specific concerns off table. And before I come back, I'll just bring in Richard, just in case he can add some more.
Thanks, Stuart. What you're saying, Alex, is news to me about a meeting in Golspie High School. I wasn't aware of that. Nobody's certainly passed that information on to me. Are you saying that all parents were invited to a meeting, or was it specific parents?
No, I heard about this just now. You said you attended the Dornoch one about the performance and thingy about the Iceland project or whatever it's called, that you want community and parent involvement about high school children, and that Golspie and Dornoch are projects in Sutherland. So I've just learnt about that just now. I've asked, does she know about it? She said no. You attended the Dornoch one, so maybe it wasn't a meeting at the Golspie High School, but they said that the Golspie and Dornoch are projects. So I'm a bit confused. I don't know what's going on here.
Yeah, I think
it wasn't
sorry,
myself
Richard.
It wasn't myself that attended, Alex. Yeah,
Oh, so it was Kim.
Councillor McGilvery was at
the
Dornoch one. Unfortunately, I wasn't available when it was on in Golspie. So this is not a specific meeting with all parents in Golspie about issues. This was just something that you're talking about, what Vicky was and her Planet Youth meeting was about. Okay, I've got you. Thank you. But I would also just say that, as Marianne has already said, really, that childcare is really one of the fundamental issues. And one of the key issues, in fact, for stopping depopulation, and it's something that we're focusing on as much as we possibly can. And I'm fully support what Marianne just said about the issues that exist in the north and west. Thanks.
Thank you, Richard. Vicky, can I bring you in now? I think
don't worry, Stuart. I'll keep this one short. Alex, in relation to your question, the Planet Youth meetings, we had advertised them as fully as we can. We've asked each of the 5 schools to send that out via emails to the parents. So if you haven't received that, I'm afraid that's up to the individual schools. We have asked them repeatedly to share that around. We do have Planet Youth leads in each of the schools, so we have contacted them well prior to the meetings and asked them to share. The meetings weren't within the school, they were out with the school within the community. But yes, we were wanting as many parents as possible to come along to that. We do also have a Facebook page that I've tagged into the chat there, and our newsletter, where we're also advertising those things. Also advertise the groups on the Golspie Village Facebook page. My friend Eve, who is actually the representative for Sutherland and Easter Ross, she'd gone out and put up as many posters as she could in the areas, went around many of the groups and spoke to people and invited them along. So apologies if you missed this group, but that was the very first meeting of many. So if you're interested, please drop me a message and we can discuss ways of improving our communication going forward.
Yeah, thanks for that. I'll speak to Debbie about it, because I know, like, everything, your daughter's got English exams and they've not had an English teacher in 2 years, or she hasn't had an English teacher, so there's massive issues at Golspie High School that need addressed. And Marianne and Stuart Kirkpatrick, I've emailed you both separately and requested meetings and not had a response from either of you. So I would maybe do that offline and we can arrange to meet, because I've requested that and been ignored, and I find it very disrespectful.
Okay, we'll take that off table then, Alex. Thanks. Jim, if I can bring you in.
Just going back to childcare, one of my constant grinds, moans, is the rigorous obstacles set in place by the Care Commission. I was going to a little bit of a rant earlier on about all the red tape necessary to get a PVG set in place now, but the Care Commission is another aspect which I've had run-ins with before around the Dornoch nursery and things like that. So it's just to make a point. I think that what fits the urban model isn't quite suitable for what we're trying to do in fragile rural communities.
Jim, thank you very much. Anybody else want to come in on the back of that? Oh, okay, thank you very much. And that will bring us on to Homes for People and Infrastructure, and I will ask Councillor Marianne Hutchison to come in, please, for an update on that.
Okay, I have provided a written report, and I'll not go through all that, bore you all to death, but Homes for People and Infrastructure has been a really important thing for me and for all the people that have contributed to. In September, we had the first meeting of the Homes and Infrastructure Steering Group, which was a great meeting. We've got involvement from Communities Housing Trust, Kellis Sutherland Development Trust, Asset Development Trust, Highland Council Housing and Development, Sutherland Fuel, Poverty Action and HIE. And as other people have said in the meeting, tackling depopulation has to be the overarching priority of the group. We have some points of action from that meeting, one of which was to act to bring SCP and the Development Trust, Focus North, Northwest 2045 together to focus on community-led housing and infrastructure as part of a holistic approach to tackling depopulation. It was good to see yesterday in Council that one of the papers brought to Council is in the hope of addressing depopulation challenges to the Highland Council area. And we were able to contribute to a response that will go to the Scottish Government in terms of action to be taken. Northwest Sutherland in particular was mentioned in that, and the work of the repopulation coordinator, Boyd Alexander, which has been a huge help to all the work we've been doing. Another action point was for partners to form an agreement or memorandum of understanding to work collaboratively and share resources. So that would be organisations, estates, Forestry and Land Scotland, NHS, HIE, John Muir Trust, the Crofting Commission, Highland Council, and hopefully the Green Freeport as well, because that's very much relevant to this, and was mentioned in that report to Council yesterday that there's going to be a different kind of demand for housing and homes for people. I'm not going to read out all of the report, but I thought that when we've spoken about having a summit to do with housing in Sutherland, homes, I shouldn't keep saying housing, it's Homes for People and Infrastructure. And I think that would be a great time, a good opportunity for us to review progress on the pledges made by the Rural and Islands Housing Action Plan, which came out in September 23. Especially when we've been looking at long-term empty properties, which again came to Council yesterday as part of a paper alongside the consideration of council tax for short-term let properties and second home, not short-term let, second homes. So hopefully that will impact the availability of housing in Sutherland as well. Recently to the group, we had a presentation from Tom Warren, who's an impact manager with Built Environment Smarter Transformations, BEST for short. It was a really inspirational presentation, and the links to BEST and other things that were provided then will be in the minutes, which everybody can access, I think. What else have we got here? Yeah, everything else is really in that written report that I provided, but if there's any questions, and I think Phil's got more on housing because we had housing as the main theme topic for the Waste Forum recently. But if there's any questions, happy to answer.
David?
Yeah, just wanted to come in. I read the report that was put to the council yesterday. It was really good that it is looking at depopulation in the way that we have been considering it. It does mention Caithness a lot, not so much Sutherland, even though their projections have actually got better and ours have got worse. But that's interesting. But I just wanted to mention on the housing thing, I've not had a chance to catch up with Marianne on this, but I think it would be interesting. One of our local estates, which owns a significant amount of land, is looking at we're speaking to the Crofton Commission, and I'm speaking to them from the community perspective, particularly from a home creation perspective, of decrofting some land that has no potential for building a house in it, and then allocating other land that isn't crofts as crofts. And what the potential will be a swap of 10 acres of current crofting land for 40 acres that's not crofting but will be turned into 2 crofts, so you would create 2 homes which you wouldn't ordinarily have. And the Crofting Commission, obviously the crofting laws are very complex, but the Crofting Commission are really interested in seeing if there is something that can be done. And what will happen from this hopefully is that in the next couple of months, hopefully at the start of the year, we'll be doing a couple of community consultations in the kind of Egerton or Guy areas, to try and look at the interests in people taking on crofts, and especially younger working families taking on crofts, to try and build a case that that is a good model for creating opportunities. And if there is successes from that, then that can be replicated to any landowner right across the Highlands, really. So I think it's really quite an exciting project. And again, it's just trying to look at any opportunities to create possibilities for people to live and work in the area. And if Crofton can come a viable option for people again through the creation of new crofts, then that would be really interesting.
No, thanks for that, David. Jim, if I can bring you in.
Yeah, just to follow up on a few of these comments here. It's a very good paper, item 9, yesterday on depopulation. It's a shame that item 10 followed up, where the council voted to close the offices at Drumui. And that's without that, there are implications to that which might be far-reaching. So I just hope it's not as bad as it sounds, first of all. Also, in terms of depopulation, we're looking at mothballing of Egerton Primary School. Egerton has always been a very flourishing community. It's always had a significant number of pupils into the high 20s and 30s, and we're now at 5. And so the depopulation thing is absolutely horrendous, and it really needs to be addressed with urgency. And picking up on David's points about crofts, I'm delighted to hear that. That's first class. In terms of what's happening here locally in this corner, the local landowner has just put forward a screening request for 30 new homes. 50% of these will be affordable, and 1 site to be gifted to the community, and is also pursuing creation of 4 new crofts also. But things can happen, but if the government would just get out of the way and let us do things, then we could do much, much more.
Thank you very much, Jim. Richard.
Yeah, thanks, Stuart. And just following on from what Jim was saying there, it's all very well to talk about stopping depopulation, but the actions speak louder than the words. And yesterday it was quite clear that there's no appetite to do anything to support Sutherland. I mean, in Caithness we have a main hub, and Rothschild a main hub, but in Sutherland there's going to be nothing. So the vote that was taken yesterday was quite telling on the commitment to regards depopulation. And bearing in mind that in Galway we've got social work, we've got housing, we've got the business unit, we've got roads, we've got the engineers all working at Dramui, and yet the decision was not to make Dramui a central hub for the council, and I think that was a shocking decision. And I'll get off my political soapbox now. So there you go.
Yeah, no, I think your thoughts are shared by everybody, Richard. Sarah, if I can bring you in now.
Hi, David, that sounds a really interesting model you're talking about with the crofting ground. So I would love to catch up with you about that and see if that's something we can look at in the Kinlochbervie Community Council area as well, which would tie in really well with the regional land use partnership work that I'm doing, which is about landowners, crofters and community all working together. But that sounds a really interesting model.
Thank you, Sarah. On to yourself, David.
Yes, Sarah, no problem. I mean, obviously, I think the consultation will be interesting, and I think the gauging the interest of people is going to be of interest to all communities. And I think then it will be a period of time while we go through the crofting legislation and unpick that before there's anything of use to anybody, if you like. But the initial consultation, and then when we have the events, I'll make sure that you're invited, and if you're passing or you want to pop down, then you could be invited. The other thing I just wanted to pick up on there was, Jim, a bit of a bombshell there, two bombshells about Dramui and Edgerton Primary. Edgerton Primary is obviously linked to Gledfield. Do you know if they're thinking the bairns are going to come to Gledfield or more likely go to Tane?
That'll be subject to parental consultation. The news is just coming out now, so it just has to kind of hit the fan shortly.
Okay, no bother.
It won't be either. It'll be, well, we'll just see what happens.
Hitting the fan is probably a good expression.
Okay, thank you very much, Richard. Sorry, no, it's Christine. My apologies, Christine.
That's okay. Yeah. Also, David, I would like to be. I'm also interested in that with regard to the what you're looking at with regard to Croftland at the moment as well. For my sins in the past, I served for a while as an assessor to the Crofting Commission. So that's something that I've always been interested in. So if you could manage to keep me on board with that, and I'm certainly interested to feed into anything that you might need help with on that.
No bother, Christine.
Cheers.
And Richard.
I'd just like to add something that Jim was saying regarding Edgerton. We all share the concern that Edgerton Schools is at risk. What happened at our World Business meeting was, and Jim led the charge on that, is that rather than looking at closure, looking at mothballing. So that gives some time to wait for we know that there's housing possibly going to go in Edgerton. And if we get houses, then we'll get families, and we get families, we've got kids. So so mothballing rather than closure is the preferred option going forward at the moment. And with the Green Freeport coming off, then there's every possibility that we'll get out of the mothballing as soon as we possibly can. So that's the efforts that are being made, and I say Jim led the way on that. So it's really important that we recognise that, and we're not looking at closure, we're looking at mothballing, which is a significant difference. Thanks.
Thanks, Richard. Jim, do you want to come in now?
Just to set the context for the whole thing, in the last 5 years, Highland Council has closed 5 Sutherland primary schools, and I'd hate to think that Edgerton might be the 6th.
Yeah. David.
And just one final thing to add to kind of Richard's frustration. The Green Freeport is seen as the holy grail, that everything that's going to save us. There's no organisation in Sutherland fighting for Sutherland's part in this. There's chambers of commerce and all sorts of organisations and trade organisations elsewhere in Rothschild and Easter Ross and Inverness and in Caithness for Dounreay. Sutherland doesn't have a Chamber of Commerce. It doesn't have the SCP's been filling that role, but we are not the correct vehicle to be pushing Sutherland for benefits from the Green Freeport. So something's got to be done if Sutherland is going to get into this window of opportunity that's been granted to us by the council zone in East Sutherland as a potential beneficiary area. So I've always said, if you get 2% of the jobs from the Green Freeport, that's 500 good jobs in South and East Sutherland. That's a massive thing to the community. That keeps Egerton School open. That makes the rest of them viable. But who is actually pushing for Sutherland? Who is putting the case forward for Sutherland? Who is looking to zone areas in Sutherland and to look to see and engage with the Green Freeport to find out what benefits we can get? As far as I can see, that there's nobody at the moment. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but something needs to be done, or we're going to miss out on that as well.
Yeah, no, well said, David. And I did mention that to the Community Partnership Coordinator, Gail Prince, at the Merkinch meeting a fortnight ago. That very fact of the Chamber of Commerce absence in Sutherland representation. So we'll see how that can progress, if there is going to be any progress in relation to that. Richard, can I bring you in?
Yeah, just on that, you'll be aware, Stuart, no doubt, that the HOIP is looking at the partnerships and work becoming incorporated bodies with review to owning assets and delivering services. We're already down that line a little bit with this transport project we're going on. And the remit is going to be as loose as possible to allow us to do all those things and take a look at the housing, look at the regeneration of Sutherland, and that's why it's going to be called the Regeneration Initiative, because we want to take up exactly what David's talking about there, and be in the body that can push that forward. And I think we need to really consider as a partnership whether we want to continue in this format, or do we want to be looking at becoming morphing into an incorporated body such as a company limited by guarantee? If that's the direction the HOIP's going in, then that's something we should definitely be looking at ourselves. Thanks.
Yeah, I totally recognise that and agree with that. That discussion needs to take place. Thanks, Richard. Okay, the next on the agenda is Emotional Wellbeing Sutherland Cares subgroup, and that's chaired by Councillor Leslie Ann Niven, but I don't think Leslie Ann's on the meeting today. Fiona.
Yeah, I'm not seeing her, but I'm quite happy to give a little bit of an update because I've been to the meetings. And also while I'm here, I've just realised that I also didn't add employability subgroup to the agenda, but I'm sure we can get an update from Fiona.
Yes, I've got a note here to include it in.
So the emotional wellbeing group hasn't really been meeting for quite a while. So we had a meeting just at the end of the summer there to try and see who was still on our current invite list who would still be interested in attending. And what we're looking at now is widening out that invitation to see, in the past year, who's come into post, who's left post and would be interested in coming along and finding out, sharing what's going on around wellbeing and mental health in Sutherland. I met with Christine Ross at VGS to go through the action plans and the action plan that came out of the Pathfinder project to see if they could be combined and see if they could be updated. So we're looking at that as well. And Ilsa Villegas from Public Health, Green Health Partnership. We've been in discussions with her as well because she is looking to get a group started looking at green health in the environment in Sutherland. So we're talking to her and seeing if maybe our groups could be combined into some format. So that's where we are, still early days. But if anybody would be interested in coming along to those kind of meetings, if they could get in touch, and I'll add them to the future invite list. That's me,
Thank you very much. Thank you for stepping into the breach.
All right.
Thank you very much. Any questions for Fiona before we move on? Right. Okay. And at this stage, I did have a note here that I was going to bring in Fiona Webster, who, as I mentioned earlier, has very kindly agreed to lead the employability subgroup. So Fiona, if you could come in and give us an update, please.
Yeah, sure. One of the first thing I'm going to say is that the Highland Employability Services is now going to be amalgamated into what we call Work Life Highland. So that will incorporate all the Highland Employability Services such as SDS, Skills Development Scotland, Developing Young Workforce, the DWP, High Life Highland, all these employability services will now come under one umbrella, which will be called Work Life Highland. I do have a small presentation, but unfortunately I can't get it to work. So what I'll do is I'll add it to the group chat and you can have a look at it, but I'll go through it briefly to explain what it's about. So basically what's going to happen is going to be set into 3 sections. So there'll be a website under Work Life Highlands. So the first one will be, you know, for people that are looking for a job. So essentially it's going to be a front door where people that are looking for a job, people that are looking to progress in their current jobs, and also for employers. So it will be all on the one website. It'll be easy to access and hopefully be much better to work. So the first bit is I want a job. So it's for those that are starting work for the first time, those that want to get back into work, and those that are looking for additional support. We are also there's a section for those that maybe working parents that want to progress. So on their current job, so we have financial incentives where we can offer free training, you know, accredited training that will help them to get promotion in some places where employers might not be able to fund extra training for their employees. So we can provide all that. And we also have a section for employers. So for employers that are looking to find staff, there will be an opportunity page for vacancies, placements, and also for employers that can help somebody. So we have clients that may be looking for a bit of work experience. Are there employers out there that could help us with that? And as I said before, for upskilling staff, if they're looking for training to help upskill staff, we have the funding that can enable them to do that. We have up roughly about £1,000 that we can offer a client to be able to upskill them. We also have a page where we have our news and events. We will have different events throughout the year. There'll be a calendar up on the website with all the events that will be happening so people can find out about it. We will be on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, WhatsApp. We will also have a live web chat from Monday to Friday, 10 to 4, and that will appear as a pop-up on the website. That will be administered by the Highland Council Employability team. So as the live web chats come in, we will deal with these as and when they come in, so it'll be pretty responsive. We will also have case studies that with the client that we deal with. So we've had quite a few success stories. So it's important that we get these up on the website as well so that people can see the good work that's been done. We will also be taking Work Life Highland on the road, and we will be utilising the mobile library service so that we can get out to the more remote areas of the Highlands. So there'll be the Highland Employability Service workers. There will also be somebody else from one of the other partners so that people can have that face-to-face, find out about what it is we can offer, what support we can offer. So hopefully that will be a good service, getting out to the remote areas where people can't get into the main towns in Sutherland and Caithness. We will also have pop-up events in supermarkets, community markets, local events. So it's really just trying to get out anywhere and everywhere that we can promote our service. Sorry, I'm just going through the yeah, I think that's about it. But I'll pass over the presentation and you can have a look at that yourself later. So I think it'd be quite good because I think it'd be quite a one-stop shop, if you like, where people can just go onto the website and see exactly what they want, whether you're looking for work, whether you're trying to get back into work or for employers. So hopefully, Jim, are you wanting to ask a question?
No, just to say that's a fantastic initiative. Well done. And it just fits with what I said earlier about trying to grow the rural economy and make work available as easily as possible to those that need it. Thank you. I think it's great.
Yeah, because I think there's so many employability services out there, it's quite confusing for people to know where they go, who they speak to, what they offer, what support they can offer. So yeah, I hope that it'll be quite good. And because we have the live web chat, you know, so for those that maybe don't want face-to-face, are quite happy to just speak behind the scenes, you know, it'll be responsive, you know, within half an hour response. So hopefully that'll be quite good as well. The other thing was the childminding report. So we have kind of touched on that a wee bit this morning already. The SCMA, the Scottish Childminding Association, have revamped their campaign. They've extended it for another 6 months, up until the end of March. Well, I suppose there's only about another 3 months left. We've had another 28 inquiries across the Highland area for people that are interested in taking up childminding. I'm not exactly sure. We've not had a breakdown of where these inquiries are. We have still got only one in Sutherland at the moment, which is based in Lairg. We are trying to get out there, trying to promote the service, but the campaign. But as I say, it's difficult to promote something that people are not maybe going to leave a permanent job to take on something that might not be financially viable, depending on the numbers of children that are there. But we are, as Marianne said, we are looking at working with the Care Inspectorate, working with Scottish Government, the SCMA, to see if we can run a pilot to look at different delivery models that will suit the remote areas, because the way legislation is at the moment doesn't work for us. So, as I say, if the government is looking, the Scottish Government is looking to recruit 1,000 new childminders in Scotland over the next 3 years, you know, something's going to have to give, something's going to have to change, because it's not going to happen in the Highlands, you know. So we're working very hard behind the scenes to try and do something with that. The transport situation, I spoke last month about, there were some students that were Northwest Sutherland that were travelling to Thurso on the Transport for Town. Marianne had been speaking to the college as well as myself, and thankfully we've managed to get that sorted out. So 2 of 3 of the students were actually modern apprentices with Skills Development Scotland. So they should not have been paying for their transport costs. So they got all that reimbursed. So from the date they started, so that's really good. And I think there was one that was looking to get some wind farm funding to enable her to get to college without having to pay, because part of the problem is with the under 22 free travel passes, Transport for Town do not have the proper licence to be able to use that. But I have spoken to David Summers, who is the transport manager for the Highland Council, to see if there is something that we can do around that. So essentially at the moment they have a section, it's either a section 19 or a section 21 licence, which means they can't use the bus passage. But to me it seems like it should be an easy solution to fix. So we're looking to see how we can get something sorted out there. So that's good. The other thing was, I was up at a parents' meeting in Bar High School a couple of weeks ago, and they wanted me to bring up about the transport issues they have around the school bus. So they did have a school bus up until last summer, and they were donated a school bus by an organisation that donated them a bus for through donations, but they never actually got their Highland Council school bus back after it was sent away for repairs. So I think it needs to be looked into, because essentially that one 17-seater bus is running around 3 schools, which is not any good for those that need to go to after school events or whatever. So at the moment they're having to hire a bus from Golspie. to use for social events or school events or whatever. So that is taking a huge chunk out of the budget. So we need to find out what's happened to that Highland Council bus and if we can get that reinstated. But again, that's not really an employability issue, that's more an education issue. So I have to watch what I get involved in as well, you know, because although as much as I like to try and fix things, you know, I have to be quite careful. The other thing was that she was saying about, the headmistress was saying about the issue that some of the students have to access work experience in Thurso because of the lack of transport. And we do not want to see that transport being a barrier for young people being able to access after school activities, work experience, being able to get into Thurso College on a Friday, because as their school roll is actually decreasing, they've actually lost some of the teachers because they don't have the numbers to sustain, you know. And one of the teachers is a technical teacher that they've lost, and some of the students are struggling to get into Thurso to be able to access that classes on a Friday afternoon. So I wonder if that's something else that we can look at as well. Yeah, the only other thing from the employability side is that we have quite a lot of financial incentives around trying to engage with families. And because Sutherland is such a big area, I would love to meet in with organisations that are already dealing with families that have that data, you know, that we can try to look to support, you know, whether they want to start up a new business, whether they want to start up in childminding. We still have fully funded places that we can help with that, whether it's about upskilling, about retraining, we can offer accredited places. So what I'm saying is I'm sitting here as I've dealt a few people with a pot of gold coins and I can't give them away. So I need to get out there. So if you know of anybody that's working with families, please get in touch, because there's so much that we can offer that people don't know about, is getting out there and promoting the service. So I'm happy for anybody to get in touch with me to see how we can help. Yeah, I think I've said enough.
Thank you very much, Fiona. That's it sounds as if you are involved in a lot of work, so very much appreciated. Richard, do you want to come in, please?
Yeah, Fiona, that's really fantastic. The work you're doing is really good, and thank you very much for that. It's interesting. Certainly, the transport issue is exactly what we're trying to tackle at the moment with this part of this transport project. Working with Focus North, and we'll be able to chat about that this afternoon, because it's we need to look at, especially the North Coast. Focus North are working in that area, and of course we want to be involved in that as well. So yeah, I think there's a lot we can do, I'm sure, if we get this project off the ground, and it will address a lot of the issues that you have, I think. So thanks very much for that. Thank you.
That's grand. Thank you very much, Richard. And just now move on. I'm just conscious of the time, so if we can move on to the forum updates. Is Heather available from the North Forum? No. So I'll invite then Councillor Hugh Morrison to come in relation to the West Forum, please. Well, I did see maybe dropped off. Okay, the Central Forum, again, Jim, if you could come in with that.
Stuart, can I talk to the, we have skipped over the West Forum.
Sorry, I just asked for Hugh, Councillor Hugh Morrison there, but sorry, Jim, I'll come back to you in a second. Phil, if you want to come in, that'll be grand.
Yeah, so I don't think Hugh's on the call. Marianne, are you happy if I give a quick update? Marianne's the Vice Chair.
Yeah, that'd be great. Hugh can't make it today. Sorry, no, I should have said that at the beginning.
Okay, I'll be very brief, but thank you, Stuart. So the West Forum met a couple of weeks ago, last week. It had a themed meeting. It was on housing. And given that's of interest to everybody, the invitation was extended to everybody as well, beyond just the West area. We did have some people from Tongue and from Koyak that came along as well. What we did was we tried to link up people who are dealing with community housing development with the bits of the council they might come into contact, just to make some introductions, to get some names to faces. The council can seem like a bit of a difficult organisation to engage with, and there are different bits that you do need to engage with on this. So we had Helen Cameron from Housing Development. That's the part of the council that builds houses on behalf of the council and works with partners like the housing associations in their projects. We had Gillian Pearson from the local planning team. She's the person that would assess, or her team would assess, your planning application. We had Boyd, who is known to this meeting, comes along, and he talked about some of the work that he's been doing and was able to highlight nearly 70 houses to be either in planning or will be in planning in the northwest area. We had Scott Delgana from Development Plans. So Development Plans currently is the CAS plan, but in future will be the Highland-wide Development Plan, and that's the bit that says where you can build houses or not. That's what the planners refer to. That's their blueprint. And finally, we had Fiona Richardson, who deals with area place plans and local place plans. As you'll know from previous discussions that we've had, the local place plan is the opportunity to identify sites in communities and get those into the development plan. So it's really important. So these were people who now, people who attended the meeting, have contacts with and are able to get in touch with. The issues that were raised were, it's already been raised here, about resumption and decrofting, and how that's a complicated process, how it's not always abundantly clear what the process is, how it seems to vary from case to case, and the issues around whether you need a full planning application in or not. The implications being that if you were going to develop maybe a dozen houses on a plot, then if you have to have full planning permission in, then you need to put a lot of money up front, because you'll have to identify services, access and the like. And that's money that people are putting up front, then waiting on a court decision or a crofting commission support. So there's work to be done about that. And so David's discussions and David Watson's discussions and what progress he makes with that will be really germane to all of that. We've talked about local place plans, talked about opportunity to meet the other people from the council, and we also briefly talked about community asset transfer, which is another way in which communities can get hold of land to develop for housing. And if people are interested, there's stuff on the website, and the local contact is me. I don't know, does that cover everything, Marianne?
Yeah, I think so. I thought it was a really good meeting, and it made lots of connections. And I think you're right, people aren't very clear in Highland Council who to contact on various things, and it really cleared up the areas that some people work within. It was really, really useful. And I didn't realise how many housing units were in the planning or actually ongoing at the moment. So it was really positive news in that respect.
Okay, Phil, thank you very much for that. Any other questions before we move on? Okay, Jim, thank you for pausing there. If you want to come back in.
That's just no great update from me, Stuart. There's Creek and Kincardine haven't formed. Dornoch is still in its early days and just finding its feet. A complete change of the guard there, and I just have to think into the new year, reach out to those two, Creek and Kincardine when it forms, Dornoch, and also Argyll and Lerg, and catch up with them and just see. But I'm very impressed with the agenda that was set for the West Forum, and I'll probably copy and paste much of that.
Thank you very much. We don't have a chair established yet for the East Forum. I'm just wondering if there's anybody able to provide an update. Richard?
Thanks, Stuart. Yes, I think I did put my hand up for that when we met in the links. We haven't had a meeting yet, so we need to get that organised. And as Jim said, I think I'm more than happy to copy and paste the agenda that was taken from the North and West. So yeah, I'll take that on board. Just not quite sure who's going to be supporting me here. Any hands up from anybody who wants to support? Scott's put his hand up. Does that support me or ask a question?
No, Richard. I said at the pre-meet that we had that I'm quite happy to support whoever steps into the chair for this one.
That's fine. Okay, well, we'll talk about this offline. That's great. Thank you.
That's grand. Richard, thank you very much. That brings us on to the next stage, point 6 in the agenda, which is the network group updates. And if I can ask Phil to come back in relation to the Northwest 2045, please.
Sorry, Stuart, can I just butt in before Phil comes in? I've got another meeting I need to go to, so I'll need to leave just now. But, thank you very much, and have a good weekend, everybody.
Richard, thank you very much. Cheers.
Right, cheers now. Bye-bye.
Phil.
Yeah, hello. I've submitted a report, so I don't know whether it's been sent out in advance, but it can certainly go out with the minutes. I won't go into too much detail. I'll try and pick out some highlights. The Northwest 2045 is currently got a bid in for CRF for a little bit of funding to support the continued work of the Northwest 2045. Current areas and projects of work include the Regional Land Use Partnership. There are a couple of things in there. One is the Facility for Investment for Ready Nature Scotland, known as FERNS. There's a successful funding application for a pilot project, which is around trying to realise community benefit from carbon credits and from biodiversity credits, with the extra charisma, as it's known, of selling credits that have that extra charisma of supporting and sustaining a community in a remote part of the country, remote rural community. There's the Land Plus project. Sarah Harkins is on the call. I'll perhaps ask her if she wants to add anything just in a minute. But this also has a focus on Kinlochbervie. There's been extensive discussions and community conversations, really taking forward a lot further work that the partnership started when it was a locality plan, really moved that on in very impressive ways, certainly in terms of the discussion. And it's now looking at looking into a potential local place plan and developing community action around that. The Regional Land Use Partnership engagement with the Scottish Government, we're waiting to see whether it's going to continue. We've talked about childcare already. I don't know whether there's any more to add about that, but the Northwest 2045 has been working quite closely with communities across the North and West to try and bring that forward. And if Marianne wants to come in, I'll leave a space for her at the end as well. Repopulation, we've also spoken about. There's some stuff in there about the work that Boyd has been doing, including the identification of housing plots, and also the work that's been done with the Scottish Government addressing depopulation action plan. So that's they've been instrumental in that. There's also been some work around engagement. So there was presence at the Rural and Islands Parliament, which was held in Lochaber this year. I don't know if other people were able to attend that. Fortunately, I wasn't. And I think that's probably it. So I don't know if I can just invite maybe either Sarah or Marianne if there's anything they wish to add on either Land Plus or on childcare, but I think we've kind of covered them already.
Could I just jump in? Just, I suppose the key thing that we're going to be moving forward with in January is working very closely with Boyd to do the local place plan. And so what the plan will be to speak to each township within the Kinlochbervie Community Council area to ensure that we've got people's views from each township. And yeah, and Boyd, I just think is being so pivotal in, I think, so many of these discussions. And just really to echo, all that's been said about Boyd to date, he's doing a brilliant job. And we, of course, are reporting back to the local Kinlochbervie Community Council, and we'll also be liaising with the local Kinlochbervie Community Company as well. But yeah, all good. Thank you.
On childcare, it's ongoing work. I'm working not just with Kinlochbervie, but with Melvick and other communities in the North and West. I don't know if anybody's any questions. It came about because of the mothballing of both Melvick and Kinlochbervie early learning provision. And it really is just about trying to find a childcare model that works on the North and West and in these rural communities, because it is integral. And as I raised yesterday, if we really are serious about tackling population depletion, depopulation, we have to provide childcare, and it has to be a model that matches up. It has to be one of the elements of the plan, the future plan that was referred to there, not just a part of the indirect plan. It has to be an integral element of it. If anyone has any questions about what we are working on and where we are, I'm happy to answer questions. I mean, it would take a long time to go into it from the very beginning to where we are now, but I'm happy to answer any questions from anyone.
No, just thank you very much to Sarah, Marianne and Phil for that update. That was very good and very worthwhile. Thank you very much. If I can bring on Angela from HIE in relation to resilience, please.
Thank you. Yes, Angela Simpson, Head of Strengthening Communities for Caithness and Sutherland with HIE, if there's anybody on the call doesn't already know me. Yeah, just a very quick update, not much to say really about the resilience group. That doesn't reflect that there's not been much going on, but no particular update since the last meeting that's a great deal different. It still acts as a very useful network for our anchors across Sutherland. We've had 3 meetings since the last one. Still looking at, just various updates and challenges, a good forum to share those challenges. So looking at the projects that are ongoing, which, very broad: housing, capital projects, cost of living, mental health, food support and growing projects. No particular themes recently, but I think in the new year we'll be focusing some time and some thought around a key challenge in terms of funding. Obviously, all our groups are always chasing funding, real pressures at the moment on revenue, which of course we all know is very important for capacity building. And I fully understand as well some frustrations really in the how different funders' criteria, deadlines and what have you overlap. So we're just going to have a look to see if there's anything we can do for the future to maximise what there is in terms of bring some of those funders together so we can make the most of what we've got that benefits everybody. So that's quite a big piece of work, but something I think we need to discuss further and something that the group were interested to talk through and try and find some solutions for. So our next meeting is the end of January, and there is a little written update as well, which will go out with the minutes, but pretty much says what I've said there. Thank you.
Angela, thank you very much. Does any questions for Angela? No. Okay, thank you. And on to the David, if I can bring you in for the Kyla Sutherland Development Trust, please.
Aye, and just really an update on the work of Scott and Fiona. They're still doing a pile of work. If as anybody that is involved with them will know that they're driving this forward. And Sutherland has a good reputation for community planning as a result of the series of teams that we've had. We've managed to employ good people all the way along, which is really fantastic. But we've got 2 good people just now. The unfortunate circumstances are that we only have funding committed until the end of March for the posts. We have identified potential application or a pot that we can apply for that will extend that by maybe 11 months, which is the Communities in Place strand of the UK Shared Prosperity Fund, which the Highland Council is going to be looking at. It seems to fit well with that, but that's only 11 months and it does require 25% match funding. We'll have to apply for that pretty sharpish. So the 22nd of January is the deadline for it. So hopefully we will manage to find a solution, but I think that we will all agree that if there isn't support staff for the partnership, the work will not be of the same standard and we will not be able to drive things forward for the communities of Sutherland in the way that we can. The value of having staff, and especially really good staff like we have at the moment, is there to be seen for everybody. So we'll push hard, but I would please anybody who has any other suggestions of funding pots or solutions will be there. This is application based. There is no guarantee that we will get this funding, but we will try our best for it. And the one thing that I find quite interesting as well this time of year, when we are absolutely flat out giving Christmas support, is there's about 3 or 4 funds that we are probably going to be applying for that have application deadlines in early January. It's absolutely crazy, and it's really, really difficult for everybody to do that. But this is one of the priorities. As I've always said all the way along, Kylie Sutherland Development Trust are lucky enough to employ the staff at the moment, and we have been since 2017. I'm not precious about that. I want staff there to be supporting the Sutherland Community Partnership. So if there's any other solutions where staff can be found, we're more than happy to step aside, and because the value is in having the staff there. So just that's the main thing. As far as the rest of the work that Scott and Fiona is going, well, you've heard most of it all through all the updates of the groups, because without their support, these groups just simply wouldn't be meeting and delivering stuff. It's imperative that we do our utmost to try and extend the staff for the partnership, because it will add value to Sutherland, and they're good people as well.
No, David, I just want to come on the back of that and just tell the whole partnership how invaluable I found their assistance to me personally as a chair, and I know how much work they're putting in the background throughout the whole of Sutherland. So I just want to second your comments there. Can I just ask, have we heard, or have you heard anything from the Community Partnership Coordinator at the Highland Council, i.e. Gail? I did put a request through Gail, which she was going to elevate in relation to the delivery of the community partnership under the Highland Council, where we're contributing so much to achieve the Highland Council's aims, that a contribution from the Highland Council would be appreciated in relation to the key work that Fiona and Scott deliver. That was going to be raised through their line management, but I've not heard anything yet. I will chase that up. But I appreciate that the public purse is extremely empty at the moment.
I've not heard anything from Gail in a while, which is unusual. But I'm sure I'll hear something from her as soon as she's got any news for me.
Yeah, I'll drop her an email today anyway, just to see if we can chase that up. But thanks very much, David. Any questions for the Kylie Sutherland Development Trust? That's the end of our updates. Just before we go on to the community matters and any other competent business, I am conscious that we have another public service attendance here, which is David, who sat patiently. David Grieve from the Scottish Fire and Rescue Service, who sat patiently throughout the whole meeting, and I just want to say welcome, David, on behalf of the Sutherland Community Partnership. Your attendance is greatly appreciated, and I'm sure that you know, as much as we have our own roles in the community, in terms of you know, me being a police officer, you being a Scottish Fire and Rescue Service worker, that we do have our day jobs, but there's a lot that we can contribute to the partnership as well. So I just want to say welcome to the partnership, and no doubt we'll get further chats with you in the coming weeks and months.
Yeah, well, thank you very much for inviting me. Just as a representative for the Scottish Fire and Rescue Service, just invite our services to everybody that's here, that anything we can do to help, we will. And if we can help, we'll obviously try and help. This is a new role to me, especially being in such a rural community, as you can tell from my accent probably. I'm from Glasgow, and I've worked most of my career in Glasgow, so I'm used to having whole-time, full-time fire appliances. I'll work out in the near future how I can offer the services of our on-call part-time firefighters, but where we can and if we can, we're always happy to help. And if anybody wants any information on the services that we can provide and where we can help, feel free to drop me an email. Thank you.
David, thank you very much. So it brings us on to the last matter, which is any other competent business, folks. David.
Just a very quick thing, because it's probably of interest. First thing is, it would appear through my emails this morning that the Falls of Shin has finally been sold, so there will be a new owner, and the keys will be going to a new owner soon. So that's not anything to do with the Kyle Sutherland Development Trust anymore. Just to make that clear, it's nothing to do with us anymore. And the second thing that I just wanted to mention, because I was actually really proud this morning, I went next door into our Guy Hall, and we've got staff and volunteers preparing 250 Christmas Eve boxes to go to children across Sutherland that have applied and been successful for the Westminster funding. So these are people that are struggling fuel and food poverty and poverty in general. And we always feel that Christmas should be a special time of year. So we used to subcontract and get these Christmas Eve boxes prepared for us in Aberdeen, but we decided to do it ourselves this year. So there's a production line going on in our Guy Hall all day today that's frightening the death out of me. But it's looking really, really amazing, and these are going to be distributed right across Sutherland next week. Beth Simcoe, who works for us, has been an absolute champion in charge of this. And she should be really highly commended for the work that she's done. But the one thing that I will say is the work that we've had to do this Christmas is really, really taking its toll on our staff. And it's really difficult for a small development trust in our Guy to be delivering all this support, and we're going to have a rethink, I think, next year about whether we are able to continue to deliver that from an operational and from a emotional perspective, because it's really, really, really challenging at this time of year. We can clearly wish to do it, but the reality may not be what it is. So, yeah, I just wanted to mention our staff and volunteers who are working hard to help ensure that all children can have a good Christmas this year.
No, thank you very much, David, and well, a lot of good work going on there, and thank you for doing that. That's grand. Marianne.
Just two quick things. First of all, I'm a bit concerned that it's been announced that Dramui is closing. I didn't hear that said yesterday. What I heard was that it wouldn't be a sixth main hub. So along with lots of other buildings, it's being looked at. But I have a bit of concern for people who might be alarmed or upset by that. There's not a lot of information to give, so that worries me a bit. The other thing is a kind of emergency that's been brought to me by 4 different families so far in Lochinver, which is that OVO has left them without an electricity supply. I'm sure other people on the call know about this. They're changing their keys, and it seems to be very poorly done. Can anybody offer any help or advice on that?
I don't know the background to that, Marianne. Are you saying that it's going to be switched off, or is it?
Well, there was one family. Sorry. What's been happening is they're issuing new keys. Obviously, it's people who have the meters with the keys, and when people have gone to put credit on their keys, they've been told that their key's no longer valid. So they then get in touch with OVO, who says, "Oh yes, we're issuing new keys," but the people don't have their new keys, which is okay if you have a lot of reserve, but if they don't have a lot of reserve, they're in trouble, because Lochinver isn't the easiest place to get things sent out to, especially at this time of year. And people, I mean, one young family with a baby and a toddler were left without electricity, and eventually an engineer appeared, but they were already without electricity at that point. And since then, another 2 families have come forward. Well, one person, an individual who lives by themselves, and one other family with the same complaint, saying their key has been rejected for a credit and they still haven't received their new key. So I think they have a reserve usually on the meter, but it just depends. If that happens to you on a Thursday and your reserve is probably going to run out before you even are able to access to even contact somebody and to receive something in the post. And a lot of times the engineers that arrive, well, the first one, the engineer has arrived and said to the people, "This is happening to me all the time. I'm being sent out to a house." They're not issued with keys that they can give to the people. And I don't know really an awful lot about it myself, but I'm seeing that Natalie's on the call, so I'm wondering if she can maybe help or if anybody else knows anything about this. Oh, the other point is the long-running problem with the pay points, because people can't access a pay point in places like Lochinver. The nearest one is Ullapool, and so they can't use a pay point to do anything either. So help.
Right. Okay, I'll hopefully one of the three hands has got the answer for you, Marianne. Yvonne.
I don't have the answer. Got another question.
One down, two to go.
See if anybody else has got the answer. I just wanted to just do a quick update about it.
If anybody's got an answer, can you just shout out? Natalie.
Not an answer, but just to add to that, it was poorly handled by OVO, but the PayPoint shops, as part of their licensing agreement, have to hold spare keys. So if they're in that situation, the shop where they normally top up is supposed to have spare keys that they can issue them with there and then. And if they haven't got the keys, could they let people like us know, because the shop's then in breach of their license?
Yeah, well, the local, oh, sorry about that. Something just fell off the wall. The local post office, which is in the Spar shop, they don't have any new keys. They were referred to their nearest pay point, which is Ullapool, which is 38 miles away. So it's as you say, it's been poorly rolled out. It's a poor system.
If you could send the families like to us, we can support them like with crisis funding while they get a new key. But yeah, if you know of any PayPoint or places that are not holding the keys, can you let us know as well, because they're in breach?
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Marianne. Thanks, Natalie, for coming in to the rescue. Thank you. Yvonne, are you still wanting to raise?
I was just going to quickly just sort of an update of stuff. I've not been on these meetings for a while. I think I must have got off your email list, but yeah, it kind of also fits in a bit with Marianne's point there as well. I'm just ahead because I'm doing a needs analysis for Lochinver area. And so anybody that is working around Lochinver or whatever, it'd be good to get different people's views and stuff. So I'm really going to focus on it heavily in January, because we can see there's quite a lot of things that are maybe slipping more there. Yeah, I mean, there's other bits and pieces that, like, I'm still part of the children and young people subgroup, which is not really now a thing I see on the list, but we have been doing stuff, and we've got another day for young people in April in Lairg for young people with disabilities and their families. So just another heads up of stuff that we're doing. So
yeah, that young people is really being subsumed now into the whole family well-being aspect that's running out on the side. So I would ask you just to tie in so that we've got sort of a unified effort as opposed to a fragmented effort where everybody's doing their own thing. We're just going to see if we can get this all coordinated a little bit better and see if we can roll it out that way.
Okay. If I could get it, yeah, I mean, if I'm back on the list, so I'll be able to keep up with it, because I wasn't on it for a while, so I've not seen what's been going on. So
yeah,
it's good to get back into it.
Thanks, Yvonne. Anybody else? Sorry, Yvonne Ross.
It was just to say to Marianne to be really careful about sending people all the way to Ullapool to get a new key, because you've got to phone the OVO Energy first to get a code to get the key. So you have to go through the person that I did it for. It took us almost 2.5 hours to get that code for the key to then drive to Tain to pick up the new key. So I would hate for you to, you know how we've said, just send them, they should have keys, but they do need a code before they go and get the key, or we had to when I was helping that person. But that's what's happening, is they're not sending out the replacement keys. So the only way you can do it is to go and pick up a new key. And I know Natalie offered funding and a crisis grant, but you don't have any way of putting that on your meter. If you don't have the key, it's all very well having the money, but you need the key to be able to put it in. So it's taken a lot to get that person to have money on their electricity account that I helped. So I think it needs flagged up somewhere.
Yeah, I have flagged it with welfare at Highland Council, but it was just more the sort of emergency situation of today, because that's another person today and somebody who is a priority apparently because they need to use a nebulizer every day. And if you don't have electricity, you don't have that nebulizer. And although they've been ranked priority with OVO, they still don't have a key that works. So, yeah. Thanks anyway. Thanks for that, Yvonne. Yeah, I'm very wary of sending. And this whole pay point thing is a problem. It's a real equity problem because people shouldn't have to ask their teenage kids to go to the pay point in Ullapool when they're at school to use vouchers and to use it. It's really not acceptable.
I was just going to say that OVO can put funds on the meter from their end without a key.
Well, they're not admitting that.
No, I bet they're not, but they can.
They say an engineer has to go out and then the poor engineer comes out and still can't do it. I think what they're saying isn't really what people are finding when they come out. But thank you anyway.
Okay, any other matters to raise, folks? Okay, we've run slightly over, but I'm happy with that. I'd rather get a full meeting where everybody says or gets an opportunity to talk, as opposed to running things short, just to meet timeframes. So the next full meeting is scheduled for the 1st of March, but as per normal, that is open to slipping a little bit depending on availability at the time. So but we will put out, or Fiona and Scott will put out communication in relation to that nearer the time. But once again, thank you everybody for your attendance and your contribution, and I wish you all a very Merry Christmas and New Year.
Thanks, Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Cheers. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.